Hey, it's Dorr with Tactical Hyve. In today's video, we're going to be covering field expedient cleaning and oiling of your primary and secondary weapon system. We're just going to hit the high points of those critical nodes that are going to cause your weapon to fail when it is absolutely inappropriate to do so. So stay tuned. Today's video is brought to you by Mark 7. Here at Tactical Hyve, we do a lot of shooting, a lot of reloading, and we use the Mark 7 Revolution. Had it for about 3 years or so, and if you're into reloading, this is definitely the industry standard for professional and personal use. So we'll leave a link in the description below. Go ahead and check them out, and don't forget to use code TACHYVE at checkout for 10% off. All right, let's get back to the video. Hey guys, it's Dorr, welcome back. So in today's video, we're gonna talk about field expedient cleaning and oiling. Obviously, if you got nothing better to do, there's nothing going on, you can find a nice table, a comfy chair, and deep dive in and give everything a thorough, complete cleaning and oiling, and like you should. But sometimes we're in a hurry. Sometimes we're out and about, sometimes there's a lot going on, and we gotta make sure we're keeping these weapon systems up and running because, well, we can't do our job very well if they don't. So if you find yourself in a hurry and you need to do a field expedient cleaning, in my experience, obviously starting the day off, hopefully with as clean and ready to go weapon as possible is always a plus. But if it's been one of those days or one of those weekends or gosh, one of those deployments, and you're behind the power curve, a quick, fast field expedient cleaning should keep you up and running and in the game. So starting off with secondary, Glock 19, pretty standard. The only thing different or changed on this thing is the sights, like everybody else does. But starting off, you pull this thing out, you clear and safe it. If I have the bare minimum cleaning essentials, I have my military surplus 762 cleaning brush. This is the old base rod. There were other sections that you could use to get all the way down, like a 22-inch M14 barrel. But all I need is this one, and this is the chamber brush. I'm gonna go ahead and use this. I usually have this nearby or with me, and I'm just gonna scrub out the slide face on the back here, which is kind of the bolt of a pistol. And I'm gonna jam it in here, and I'm gonna clean out the chamber. I'm gonna use this lion's mane to do most of the work. I'm gonna hit the feed ramp, make sure my rounds can get up into the chamber. And then most importantly, extractor ejector. That's really what I'm doing right here. As I'm hitting the extractor ejector, making sure it's clean as possible, scraped off, good to go. If I have a rag or a shirt or whatever I got, I'll be wiping things down. And then as far as oiling goes, I don't have time to take the gun apart because I'm in a hurry. So I will take whatever oil I can get my hands on. Right now we have FP10 Elite, M7 Pro, and then I have a sampling of these little tiny ones that hopefully you or somebody close to you has in their pocket. And they're various brands. This one's Cleanse Oil. I don't even know what this one is, but this one's called Frog Lube. These come in these little tearaway one-use packets. A retired team guy came up with this company, and you can rub this stuff in. It's kind of thick. It's kind of like a toothpaste almost, but it works. So I usually, back in my last job, I usually ran around with something like this in my shoulder pocket. But anyway, we're moving on here. I'm gonna go ahead, lock the slide to the rear, pick an oil, and just on the back here, along the metal on metal, along the rails, I'm gonna go ahead and put a couple dabs of oil. I'm not going to put any oil on the outside. It isn't really gonna help anything, but I'm gonna go ahead and let gravity pull the oil down into the gun, okay? So as soon as I'm done, this thing's going back in the holster anyway, and I'm just gonna allow the over-oiling of the back underneath of the slide, allow the gravity to pull that oil down farther where it needs to go. Not ideal, but we're in a hurry. Then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to hit the extractor ejector, but I'm going to again use gravity to keep the oil under the firing pin. You don't want oil getting down into the hole where the firing pin is. The firing pin does not need oil, and it can cause problems. It can lead to light strikes. So that's something you want to make sure you're aware of. Then past that, again, if I have it, I am going to put a little Earl oil on the down the barrel, and I'm going to hit it with a bore snake. Bore snakes are awesome. They do wear out, so make sure if your bore snake's looking ragged, you go ahead and replace it, just like so. If I didn't have a bore snake, but I had access to my handy dandy 762 brush, I just go ahead and jam this in there and give it a good scrub. Again, this is just designed to take about 30 seconds tops and get you right back into whatever it is you're doing. On rifle, you know, this is a mil-spec clone. You know, everybody's stuff's a little bit different, but you should be able to adjust what you're doing based off of this. Again, I'm in a hurry. I'm just going to lock the bolt to the rear if I haven't already done so. I'll go ahead and drop a couple of drops on the bolt face itself. I'll put one drop on the back here along the left side of the actual receiver. Then I'll send the bolt forward. I'll put a couple of drops in these handy dandy holes on the side of the bolt carrier group. Make sure it gets in there. And then I'm going to rack. Go ahead and give it a couple of racks. And then again, I am going to let gravity pull that little bit of oil that I put on there back down into the gun. If you over oil right before you go back into doing a lot of shooting, you're just going to burn it up. It's not going to last, and you're going to have to have a dirtier gun. You can keep repeating the process, and these things could take a lot of abuse. I mean, a lot. But, you know, why waste? Also, again, with the bore snake, if I have it, of course, I'm going to use it during the absolute worst moment. I had a friend who thought it'd be a good idea to run a bore snake through his gun before he went out the door on a deployment, and it broke when it was right inside the gun, and he had a hell of a time getting it out, and we were in a huge hurry. You know, if the gun is so dirty that I'm worried about it having issues, if I have time, I'm going to hit this thing at least 4 to 6 times. You know, 3 absolute minimum, but it does help every time this thing scrapes through. But again, the chamber and the extractor ejector are the high failure rates. The M4 feed ramps, modern feed ramps, are very reliable. What I think is one of the biggest upgrades they did. But again, if I've got my handy dandy bore brush, I will just real quick get in there, ride this forward if I have time, and just try my best to scrape it off. I'm not going to tear the gun down because I don't have time. If I tore the gun down, it would be just as easy to take care of as it ever was. Just planning ahead enough to be able to keep these things up and running during, you know, high volume training or whatever it is you're doing. I mean, just that, you know, just talking about it and kind of going over it with you did not take very long. You should be able to clean and lubricate your primary secondary in a couple of minutes. Before I joined the Navy and became like a weapons ordnance guy, I grew up on the water. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that WD-40 cleans and lubricates and protects metal to include guns from maritime and wear saltwater corrosion. But as far as lubricating a gun, this stuff is basically gasoline. So if you put this on a gun and don't wipe it down and let it dry off, that first shot you fire is going to burn it all up, and it's going to turn into carbon, and it's not going to work out well for you. So if you are in a hurry and you do need to clean the gun and you don't have this stuff with you, and I mean, obviously this stuff's everywhere, it will clean the gun, but definitely at that point, you should probably tear down both weapon systems and wipe them down thoroughly, because you're just going to end up fouling up your actions with this stuff. I just thought I'd cover it. It comes up sometimes in classes, but just an added tip. So that was a quick down and dirty of how to just keep these things up and running. Obviously, tearing them down is better. Obviously, planning ahead, taking care of your stuff, showing up ready to go with all of your equipment, you know, serviced and ready to go is a must in my opinion. But, you know, If you get super busy, you're going to run into problems. Even with super reliable weapon systems, I have run into problems. So that was enough to keep both of these weapon systems going for me. So hopefully it works for you. Just in review, my personal favorite, the 762 bore brush. If you can find one, I mean, this thing is absolutely my favorite thing in the world. And then the bore snakes. They're easy to transport, easy to clean, and they work. I hope this works for you. Definitely works for me. This is Dorr with Tactical Hyve. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.